Our world has gone nuts in the last month, and wearing a mask has become the cool and also the responsible thing to do. But do you know how to make a mask? Hi, I'm Sam.
I'm Christy.
I'm Kenny.
And I'm Ben. And we are the Provident Preppers.
Staying home is the best way to prevent the spread of COVID-19. However, sometimes that just simply isn't possible. In these cases, masks are very useful, but we need to save the masks that are disposable for the medical personnel at the most risk.
In this video, we are going to show you how we are making homemade masks for our family. Check it out!
As you might guess, face masks are in and faces are out. Stay safe, stay home. If you want to keep your family safe, that is the best way to do it.
But if you can't stay home and you need to go out into the public, make sure that you wear face coverings. The CDC recommends wearing cloth face coverings in public settings where other social distancing measures are difficult to maintain, such as in grocery stores and pharmacies. There are two reasons why the CDC recommends that we wear face coverings in public. The first is to protect ourselves from getting sick, and the second is to prevent us from making other people sick. It is possible to not be symptomatic with COVID-19 and be able to still transmit that disease to other people. The research shows that homemade surgical masks and face coverings are not as effective as ones that have been designed as personal protective equipment. However, they can still significantly reduce the spread of disease and are worth wearing. Homemade masks such as bandanas and scarves for caring of patients with COVID-19 should be a last resort. They are not considered personal protective equipment since their capacity to protect healthcare personnel is really unknown. But for us as the general public who are not in close contact and caring for COVID-19 patients, these are a really good option. The announcement of a pandemic resulted in our son Sam having to come home from his mission that he was serving in Alaska, which meant that he had to fly on an airplane with a layover in Seattle before returning to our home. We weren't able to go into the airport to get him. He came directly out to our car. We loaded up his stuff and we put a face mask on him because we didn't know if he had been exposed to the virus in his travels or before he came to us. And that was just the beginning of his 14-day quarantine because of having traveled. We are grateful that we had purchased a few of these high-quality masks earlier. Right now is not a good time to try and purchase any of these items. It would be socially irresponsible for us to purchase them now, which might take away from the healthcare workers who are on the front line who desperately need the real personal protective equipment. And that's one of the reasons why we're making homemade surgical masks. Compliance is the number one priority when you are making your masks. If the person isn't wearing the mask, there is no way that it can protect them. So that mask needs to be comfortable. It needs to fit them securely. It needs to be easy for them to breathe in, and it needs to be attractive. And in whatever way the person who's wearing it would feel comfortable, John would not be okay in this Crayola mask. However, Christy thinks it's a delightful mask. Think about the person that the mask is intended for and size it correctly and make it appealing for their unique personality. The design is the most important aspect of creating a good quality face mask. In this study, the best masks contained more fabric, they were softer, and they were pleated, while the worst designs were stiffer, smaller, and not pleated. It's interesting that they found that reusable cotton fabric masks were as effective as synthetic fabric masks when used with a good design. So think about that when you're designing yours.
The CDC has helped us understand how we should wear a face mask covering. This includes making sure that it fits snugly but comfortably against the side of the face. It should be secured with ties or with ear loops. It should have multiple layers of fabric. It should allow for the person to breathe without restriction. And it has to be able to be laundered and machine dried without damaging or changing the shape of the mask.
We created a no-sew bandana face mask for Benjamin. It was super simple. All you need is a bandana and a couple of hair ties and you can do this. The problem that we found was that it didn't fit real securely for Benjamin, and it could on different faces or different ear sizes, but it just didn't allow for a lot of movement. It kept falling off, which meant that there was a problem with compliance. We also tried a no-sew t-shirt face mask. Benjamin thought that this was the most comfortable face mask that he had ever used, which would in turn encourage compliance. However, it fits very snugly and it is only one piece of fabric over his face, which means that it won't protect him as well as a different face mask might. But again, here's an option. All you need is a pair of scissors and a t-shirt. The original pattern that we used for our design did not have a way to snug it up over the nose. If you notice Kenny on the left-hand side, when we were practicing with these and wearing them while we were working, Kenny also wears glasses in addition to contacts, and they would constantly fog up her glasses. We took care of that problem just by sewing a little piece of elastic right along the top, which snugged it up to the nose. It also helped that we didn't have any issues with it sliding down the face. It just seems to mold to the face so much nicer. And on Emily's mask, she just sewed a piece of bendable metal right into the top over the nose so that when she puts it on, she can just pinch that shut. You could also use a pipe cleaner to accomplish that. When we were researching how to effectively wash our masks, the CDC says that all we really need to do is wash it in a regular washing machine. As I've designed the face masks for our family, you'll notice that some of the masks have the same fun fabric on the outside, but a different color on the inside. And that makes it so that we don't mix up these masks. We could also write the names inside of the masks. Each of these masks is sized a little bit differently, with the elastics being a different length so that they will comfortably fit the person that they were designed for.
How do we safely remove a used face cloth covering? Individuals should be careful not to touch their eyes, nose, or mouth when removing their face covering, and then they need to make sure they wash their hands thoroughly after removing it. And that mask should go directly into the laundry to get cleaned. We are very much into community, and we think that one of the greatest things that happens in our communities is neighbor helping neighbor. In this case, our friend Sadie has been making masks for others. You can see the free face mask sign. And other people have donated fabric and elastic so that she can help make those. She puts this on our front porch and just allows people to take a face mask if they need one. Thanks, Sadie, for being a great neighbor.
Some of us might not have the skills or the time to make face masks for our family, and this might be a good time to support somebody else and purchase a face mask that they have made. Amy is a nurse, so she understands what good design is, and she is making face masks to help support her family during these challenging times. If you're interested in having her make face masks for your family, there is a link to her email in the description. These are hard times, and it's so easy to become depressed, and yet fun face masks are just a great way to kind of express yourself and lift some spirits by both from you or the people looking at your face mask. These are some more masks that Amy has made for herself and others that are just a lot of fun.
These are pictures of our friends with their homemade masks. Notice the different personalities that come out in each one of these.
These women are both in the medical field, and this is what they wear when they go to work every day.
Here again are some of our other fun friends and the masks that they are wearing.
I love how darling Libby looks in her little frog face mask. It is just adorable. And you can just see the different personalities come through with the face mask. So what is your face mask going to look like? After spending time to adapt and make the perfect face mask for our family, this is what I have discovered works best for us. We are using scraps of cotton fabric and 1/8 to 1/4 inch flat elastic. I've used both. My preference is actually the 1/8 inch because it tends to be softer when you wear it than the 1/4 inch. My preference, either one will work just fine. For an adult, you cut 2 pieces of fabric that are 9 inches by 6 inches each. I like to use a different color lining than the outside fabric, but they can both be the same. They can be whatever you want them to be. And then the regular adult pattern calls for 7-inch elastic. I've noticed that Benjamin and the girls, that's just much too big and it doesn't provide them with a secure fit. So theirs I make with only 6-inch elastic. And if you're making a mask for a child, the pieces of fabric should be about 7.5 inches by 5 inches. And I would measure the elastic specifically for each different child because their sizes are also different. Some face masks are sewn with a little pocket for a filter, and you can totally do that. Or you can put some interfacing inside of it. I have found that the ones I made with the interfacing are just too thick. They don't breathe well enough, and I'm not getting as good of compliance. So while I have made some like that, I make most of them just using the 2 layers of cotton fabric. And then just a little 6-inch piece of elastic to go over the bridge of the nose. And in the video, I demonstrate how to do that.
We hope that this has inspired you to also create your masks and be socially responsible.
Take a 9-inch by 6-inch piece of fabric and the 2 pieces of elastic and lay them corner to corner. And then you're going to pin each one of the corners with the elastic in place so that when you sew it, it will attach in those corners. Take time, make sure that it's lined up really nicely, and just pin each of the corners. I like to use the different colored fabrics, and you want the right sides of the fabric to be together. Now here we want to start it on this side because we're going to leave a gap so that we can turn it. If you go all the way around and sew this, you're not going to be able to turn it, and that's going to be really sad for you. So make sure that you do that. If you notice here, I'm pulling that elastic so it's attached to that corner and it's facing the center so that I don't accidentally catch it in, but then I just kind of pull it and line it up. And when I get to that corner, I always backstitch just a little bit because that's my weak point. I want to make sure that the stress that is placed on that won't cause that elastic to pull out. So again, you can watch, we're just continuing to sew this. This is the side that we're not going to turn, coming to the corner, making sure that elastic is just where I need to be, backstitching it just a little bit and sealing that other edge. Try not to run over your pins, at least with my machine. Here I'm reaching for that end of the elastic and I'm lining it right up there in the corner so that when I sew this end, I make sure that I grab it, but I haven't sewn it into my seam. Now on this final stretch, we want to make sure that we do not catch that. We've got that space. Now clip the corners. This is really important for those corners to be nice and clean. You don't want to clip it so far that you cut into your stitching, but you definitely want to clip that. And then here we just turn it, just work it until it all comes through, and there you have your mask. See that little hole? We're not going to worry about it because we're going to top stitch this. I always like to iron mine. I just think it's a cleaner look, and it makes sure I pulled the elastic on those little corners so that I'm just going to have a really nice quality professional looking mask. Now here it is all ironed, ready to go. And I'm going to put 3 pleats in each side. I don't measure these. I just kind of guess my way through it. You could measure it if you're a perfectionist. Absolutely do that. I have this problem where I think that good enough is perfect. And so I just do it right about where I think it needs to be. I'll pin them. And there are 3 pleats on each side. And here I'm going to start the other side. We'll just skip ahead. And there you go. It's all pinned and ready to go. Same thing here. Now I just like to top stitch it fairly close to the edge, and it goes really quickly. When you're sewing over the pleats, sometimes it's a little bit hard for that machine. Make sure that you're pulling those pins out so you don't break your needle, because that's no fun. But I just sew over those pleats and voila. Just takes a couple of minutes. Really, this process is not that long. The first one might take you a little while, but once you get going on it, I can make each mask in about 10 minutes a piece. And one little tip, if you get it finished and the elastic is too long, There's your final product. Looks really good. If it is too long, you can just take that elastic in just a little bit. Now I measure a piece that's about 2/3 of the way. This is for the top of the mask to hold it nice and snug to your nose. And I'll tack it down on one side, a little bit in from the end. I wish there was another camera angle so you could see it just a little bit better. But as soon as it's tacked in, then I'm stretching that elastic as I'm sewing it in. So just kind of stretch it a little bit at a time, little bit at a time. And as you can see here, I've got extra elastic at the end. That is intentional so that I can continue to stretch it. And then you just clip it off, clip all of your little threads, and you have a perfect mask. This will go through the washer really well. It fits nicely and snugly.
We hope this has inspired you to be able to make your own masks and to be socially responsible when you need to go out. In addition to this video, we have other videos that we think might be useful for you, including preparing for a pandemic, which tells you the things that you can and still might be able to do to take care of your family and to take care of someone who might be ill. In addition, we have the Prepper Survival Garden. This is a great time to get your garden started. Also, empty pantry soup tips. This gives you some great ideas for making a soup even when you don't have much left in your pantry. And Prepper Home Pharmacy. Although you may not be able to get everything that you want right now, things will settle down, and that will be a great time for you to get some of these things so that you're ready whenever for whatever.
All you need is some scrap material, some elastic, and a sewing machine, or a friend who's willing to make you one, to make a mask that will help keep you safe if you need to venture out.
And now for the question of the day. Have you ever made a homemade face mask? Do you have any tips that will help our viewers be successful? Comment below.
And thanks for being part of the solution.